How to build a property portfolio this year. Hey, it's Chris here from Property Abundance, and in this video we're going to dive into how you can get started building your property portfolio this year to start building income and wealth for yourself. Now firstly, why should you invest in property? Okay, now first the thing to understand is that property is a unique investment class and it has several key features that stand it apart from other types of investments. So maybe you thought about investing in stocks and shares, maybe you thought about investing in Bitcoin or trading Forex, maybe you've thought about, maybe even hedging your bets right now and going for gold and silver and precious metals because, during times of uncertainty, they're a good, stable source of market hedging. But the issue with all of those is that they don't do the same things property does. Okay, so let me talk you through firstly why property is so unique and what the unique investment criteria within it are that stand it apart from other investments. And the first one is what's called leverageability. Leverageability. Now that means that you can borrow other people's money and invest other people's money, but own the asset yourself. Now the most common form that I'm sure everyone's heard of leverageability is mortgages. Now, a mortgage is simply an institution like a bank or any kind of other financial institution that provides mortgages, lending you money for the use of property acquisition. Now, they will lend you money at a rate of 1 to 4. Okay, so that means that every pound you invest, they will invest, it's 1 to 3. They will invest 3. So that gives you what's called a 75% loan to value. LTV, loan to value. Now that means that every pound that you invest, they invest 3 and that gets you to 100%. So £1 of your investment is actually worth £4 of asset value. So you can buy assets that are far more valuable than you would have the money to buy ordinarily yourself, simply by taking advantage of the fact that property is leverageable and you can use other people's money to buy it. The second one is called tangibility. And it should say tangibility and insurability as well. Now tangibility, by this I mean it's a physical asset. You can actually go and touch it. You can own it. It's not going to disappear overnight like various different cryptocurrencies have. People have lost hundreds of thousands, millions of even of pounds by betting on cryptocurrencies that just all of a sudden overnight disappear and cease to exist. Or their value suddenly in the mind of investors is worth far less and it just crashes through the floor. Now look, equally, I'm not going to get into crypto because I don't really invest in it much myself. But obviously you can have the swings the other way as well. But the benefit of property is that it's an asset, it's real, it exists in the world, and you can't just suddenly not have it anymore. Now the obvious counterpoint to that is, Chris, what if it burns down? Fair point, but that's where insurability comes in. Okay, because not only can you physically have it and touch it, but you can also insure it. So if anything were to happen to it in the real world where floods, tornadoes, etc. do exist, you can insure against that kind of risk. So it makes it far more safe. Now on top of this as well, we have appreciation. Okay, these assets appreciate. Now the long-term trend in the UK property market is that every 10 years the average property price doubles. Okay, so if you can make 100% on your money by leaving it parked in property for 10 years, in a safe investment that is insured, and know that on average it's going to double in that 10-year period, that's a pretty safe and reliable return on investment. But what goes with that, which most asset classes don't, is cash flow. Okay, because not only does it go up in value, which you could argue, well, so does gold and silver, so does stocks, so does Bitcoin, so do all these other areas of investment. But on top of appreciation, which is stable and reliable, you also get the cash flow. Now that means that every single month, property is putting money in your pocket in the form of profits. Now obviously your main income source is going to be rental revenue, minus your main expense, which will be the mortgage that you've got through your leverage. And then any running costs associated with it, like maintenance, upkeep of the property, etc. Now, by the way, if you're finding these kind of videos useful, please do me a massive favor, click that like button, leave a comment as to which of these is your most favored benefit of property, and also subscribe to this channel to stay up to date with the latest property content out of my own 7-figure property business here in the UK. Now, the other benefit here that we haven't discussed so far is the fact that you have options available for what you do with the property once you have it. Okay, now those are all great investment metrics to have for your property, but you have several application options. Now by this, the application strategy I mean is physically what we do with the property once we have it. The first is the most simple. That's really hard to write when you're trying to write single and say simple. But the most simple is a single let. Now this is the standard vanilla buy-to-let investing where you buy a property using a buy-to-let mortgage and you simply hold the property and rent it out to tenants. Could be an individual, could be a family, could be a couple, but anyone who's living there as their permanent home, calling the place home and paying you a monthly revenue. Now that is what we call the vanilla strategy. Okay, your earnings are limited because of various different changes that came in. Now, I don't have time to get into what those changes were in this video, but if you check out the other videos on our channel, I do deep dive what those changes to the market were that made single let investing far less attractive as a buy and hold strategy than it once was. But you can still make a small profit using single lets. Now, the more exciting one is HMOs. Now HMOs are different. In the single let, we rent out the whole property and we have a tenant that rents the whole property from us. But in an HMO, we have multiple tenants renting out individual bedrooms within that property. Now that means that the number of rental units has increased. Now not only that, but you're providing additional value because with your HMO, you're going to rent out the rooms with bills included, and people are renting the individual room with the kitchen space as a shared space, bathroom space as a shared space, but fully equipped for them to be able to use. So there's added value here over just a bare shell of a property that we might provide with a single let. So for that reason, we can charge more. Okay, so we have additional rooms and we charge per room with bills included, and it gives us a far greater earning potential than a single let. Now, HMOs are a particularly interesting option right now because we're in a time of economic uncertainty. People often want to downgrade their accommodation option. Now, because HMOs are effectively shared houses, they are what we call the bottom of the accommodation options. They're the cheapest form of accommodation that you could get out there. Because of that fact, you get a lot of demand at the bottom of the market during times of economic uncertainty because people in studios downgrade to rooms, people in one beds downgrade to studios, people in two beds downgrade to one beds. Okay, so you get this tiered effect and you create a surplus of demand at the bottom of the market. So that means that right now there's a lot of demand for these properties, and with increased demand comes an increased sales price. So not only right now in our own portfolio are we seeing massive demand for rooms, but we're also seeing that we can charge more for those rooms because there is more demand in the market for it. So simple market economics means that that added demand raises the price. Now the next one we're going to talk about is serviced accommodation. Now again, this is a much more exciting strategy than single lets. This is where we take a property, could be a flat, could be a house, could be anything to be honest, and we start renting it out by the night instead of by the month. Now in this instance, we're going to provide that property fully equipped, fully furnished, like a hotel room. Okay, so that means the bed's dressed, the sheets, there's linen on the pillows, there's towels, there's little toiletries in the bathrooms, everything there for people to be able to literally rock up with their suitcase, unpack their clothes, and start living there as a home from home. Now again, why would we do that? Well, it's because the earning potential is far, far greater than a standard single let. Okay, because we've added extra value, because we are providing a much higher level of service, the returns are far greater. So that means your return on investment here can be many times your return on investment as a single let. On top of that, we have what's called the supported living model, supported living, where we provide a property normally in HMO format, but we combine it with the provision of care. And we have adult social care housing where you might partner with a social care company, they provide the care, you provide the housing, and again, you can many times increase your rental value versus a single let. And fifth is corporate housing. Now again, this is like serviced accommodation in that you're going to provide the property fully equipped, but we are talking about much longer term bookings, generally months at a time. So our biggest corporate housing client at the moment has actually placed a team with us for 7 years. So they're there every Monday to Friday, every 7 days, then Monday to Friday, then they go home for a weekend, then they're back for 11 days, home for a weekend, back for 11 days, home for a weekend, to provide a big infrastructure project down in the south of England. Now that means the company pay us for the use of the house, and their employees are the ones living there and then going home at weekends, alternate weekends. And again, why would we do it? Well, because the earning potential is far, far greater. So you have many more options with what you can do with the asset once you have it as well. Now, by the way, if you're finding this really useful, if you didn't know about any of these options, comment in below. Let me know which of these options is your favorite, and most importantly, why? Why is that option your favorite? Now, the next question, and the logical question here is, well, that sounds great. I'd love to be able to do this, but how do I do it? Okay, well, the first thing we want to talk about is our acquisition strategies. Okay, how can we actually get these properties? The first I want to talk to you about is very simple. It's called buy and hold. Now this, again, is our most vanilla strategy. This is where you've saved up some money, you've bought a house, and then you just hold on to that asset for the long term and let appreciation, inflation, and cash flow do its work for your bank account. Now, it doesn't require much skill. You just need to buy a property and hold it long enough that you make a lot of money. But also your earnings are limited, because as soon as, let's say you've saved up 100 grand and you want to buy a 400 grand house, well, as soon as you invested that £100,000, you're done, okay? Yes, you're going to make money over the long term because that value of that asset's going to go up over time, and you're going to make some cash flow in the meantime, especially if you use some of our more creative application strategies that we just spoke about. But the issue is that it's going to take you a long time to recoup that 100 grand, okay? It's a lot of money to recoup, right? So buy and hold is fine. It's a good good wealth creation strategy if you have a lot of money and you just want to get it parked into assets as quickly as possible. But for the majority of people, it doesn't work as a wealth creation tool, or a quick wealth creation tool, I should say. Long term, it's fine, but quick wealth creation tool, because your investment sums are limited. So that's where we have strategies like buy, refurbish, refinance, which are far more creative. Now in buy, refurb, refinance, we're still buying and holding, but we're doing something with it so that we can get our money back out. So we're going to buy the property for as little as possible. So finding distressed sellers, finding properties that need a lot of work, finding a reason that the property has been devalued. Then we're going to refurbish that property, adding as much value to it as we possibly can for as small a cost as we possibly can. So creating additional value, creating the profit. And then we refinance that. So once we've done the refurb, it's revalued at the higher rate, and we take out a mortgage on that higher rate, drawing our initial investment equity back out. Okay, so this is a recycling strategy. So if we can put money in, add value, and then get the money back out, that means that we can go on to do another house and another house. And each time we recycle our funds, we can reinvest into the next property, which then pays us for life. So this is a far more creative version of the buy and hold. And then the third one is for people who have maybe more limited investment funds, okay, more limited investment. So sums up to, I would say, up to 100K, this is a really great strategy for you. Now, rent to rent, or R2R, is where we are not owning the property, we are leasing the property, but with the permission of the owner to do what we want with it, i.e. whichever of those application strategies we feel is best fitted for us. So instead of having to save up large sums of money, instead of having to do large projects where we have to add a lot of value, instead of having to wait a long time to get that value back out, we can use a creative strategy like rent to rent to start taking control of the house and having the ability to house our clients in there to create a monthly cash flow. Now, the reason that this is such an interesting opportunity is because of the return on investment. Okay, now in my business, we do not do a rent to rent deal unless the return on investment is at least 100%. Now that means that for every pound I put in, within the first 12 months, I'm getting that back out. Okay, so I'm at least going to cover all my investment in the first year. Now that means that if I've got a 5-year deal, the next 4 years are pure profit, because I've covered all of my investment. So 100% is the minimum. Now the best investment I've ever done, the best rent-to-rent deal I've ever done in terms of return on investment is actually 1200%. So that means every pound I put into the deal made me £12 that year. Okay, so I 12 times my investment in the first year. Now, full transparency, it only cost me £1,000. So it wasn't a huge deal, but it was still an amazing return on investment, and we still have that property today. We've had it for about 6 years now. So these 3 strategies are amazing, 3 different ways and 3 different ways suited to different people in different situations for you to be able to start building your property portfolio this year. Now look, if you want to do any of these or any of the application strategies that we spoke about earlier, and you want to do them right and get them right first time so you can actually start to create a lot of wealth for yourself, I've set some time aside in my team's calendar for free 30-minute consultations. Now, in that call, we will help you get to grips with where you are right now, what you want to achieve, and the resources that you have, so which of these might be most suitable for you, and we will give you advice on what we believe is the best next steps for you. So those consultation calls are completely free, they're completely no obligation, and if you want to grab one for yourself, there's a link in the description down below where you can grab one of those. Other than that, guys, please do like and can comment on this video, which has been your biggest learning from this video today, which is your most favorite of these acquisition strategies or the application strategies. And please make sure to subscribe to stay up to date with the latest tips and tricks straight out of my own property business. I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.